what's up? It's GVKcollectibles, and yeah, this is a little bit of a late Mythical Mountain Monday, coming out on a Tuesday, of course, but, you know, each is the same, so I figured I'd go through some of the comics that I said 3, but there is going to be a 4th one, just because I thought it was really, really cool and really, really good. A lot of comics came out the previous week, including, like, the new Venom run, which is maybe, or may not be on there, be one of my favorite comics. Also, Vampirella, the Christopher Priest run, just ended as well, and I really enjoy it. Like, it's very interesting and unique. I mean, it does a lot of jumping around. That's kind of like what Christopher Priest does, but it was really well written. And also, as my first, like, kind of long ongoing Vampirella series, along with the new Vengeance series, I was I was really satisfied with it. It was my first forte into the character, so I'm very excited to see that end. Of course, there is going to be a sequel book, of course, which is going to be really, really great. So, like, there's a lot of great stuff. Like, Excalibur's really, really good. Hellions continues to be really, really fantastic. Action Comics from Philip Kennedy Johnson, they're going to War World, so they're going into kind of the future state, like with Superman War, the kind of the future state book, which is really, really cool. But let's talk about some of the books that I read this week. So let's start off with this one. So this one's actually really, really cool. It is from Jeff Lemire, and also oh God, what's the artist's name? But the artist is absolutely beautiful. Just because this was a book I wasn't expecting to like. Dustin Nugent, I believe. It is Robin and Batman. So this is kind of what this book is essentially. It is a retelling of Dick Grayson's origin. Like, it's not like throughout. Like, you see elements of like his parents getting shot at the flying Graysons, and there's like, you get flashes at the beginning of the book where you see the beginning kind of like, it's really, really cool because it's framed in a way of where it's stuff that is happening in the scene, and the narration that Dick gives is echoed at the end, which is really, really cool. But basically, the story is just Dick being like kind of the year 1 for Dick Grayson as Robin, and he's kind of hard on Batman. Bruce is hard on Dick, which is very kind of the opposite direction that I'm very used to, because I like more of like the Tom Taylor kind of approach, where like Bruce is really proud of Dick for what he does. Of course, this is a younger Dick Grayson, so this is before he becomes Nightwing. He actually mentions, it's funny when he's coming up with his name, because there's a costume that he gives Robin Dick Grayson has at the beginning. It's more kind of like something in tone Damian Wayne would wear, so it's not like, and it's more of him like Batman, not necessarily doing the whole Batboy thing, which is funny. Like, I love how that was point. But there's actually cool moments, like with Alfred and everything. The art in this by Dustin Nugent looks beautiful. It's like painting. Like, it's really, really well done. But it's really cool. So this is like year 1 for Robin. I guess this is, I don't know if this is officially canon. I think it is, just because it is such like retelling the stories, and it's actually really, really cool, like how he comes up with his costume. The main villain of the book is going to be Killer Croc, which I think is really going to be excited. This is going to be a 3-issue mini, and they're pretty thick books, not like ridiculously thick like the anniversary issues, but they are relatively like a thicker book. I would say they're about the size of like half the size of Ultra Mega, but it is really cool because we kind of it's basically exploring Dick Grayson's first time as Robin, and like the early relationship with him and Bruce. So, which I really, really enjoyed. I wasn't expecting much out of this book, like, but after reading it, I really, really enjoyed it. And it's actually really, really cool because Wayland actually ties in with Dick Grayson's like father and mom with the Flying Graysons, which is very, very cool, and I'm very excited to see this book continue. But yeah, Jeff Lemire does a great job, I think, with this book, and also, as I said, the art by Dustin Nugent is absolutely fantastic. So, with the next book in the series is Joker #9. This series continues from James Tynion IV, of course, and also you get the Punchline backup story, which continues to be really, really great as well, giving like kind of insights to Punchline as a character, which is really, really great. So basically what we learn from the previous issue, which I don't think I've talked about just because work's been crazy, Gordon was arrested from Interpol, then they start having questions, then Vengeance, who is the daughter of Bane, comes to get him, and basically she goes on her talk about like how she was just manufactured for the island that Bane comes from as kind of like a propaganda piece, and ultimately Vengeance, who that's kind of what her official name is, that's what at least Gordon calls her. They go to this this mansion that's part of this network, and what we learn is the network isn't just like, it's not a network, it's actually more so what it is, it's more so like independent like groups basically in keeping it in check, so basically nothing gets transferred. It's actually cool because in the B side of the story you have Barbara working with Julia Pennyworth, who is the daughter of Alfred, who was a really, really cool character in the Snyder run, like the later half end of the Snyder run. But it's actually pretty cool because we learn about the development of Venom. They reference, one of my favorite things is they reference Batman Venom is when Venom, it's basically an anti-drug story where Batman gets addicted to the same substance that Bane uses. But it's really, really cool. And we get to learn like a lot of deep minutia that there was the one general who was kind of oh god, what was it? Like he brought the drug to where Santa Caprice, where Bane is from. We actually learned that even though he was a disgraced general, he still had a lot of connections, and there was a connection to where it's really cool. It ties to Death in the Family, of where apparently a contact within the that he knew sold a missile that killed Jason Todd in the Death of the Family, which is really, really great. Like, it really ties, like, what I think I really love about this book, it really ties all together with all the different kind of stories, like Death of the Family, Killing Joke, and, like, they reference Cataclysm. There's, like, a lot of, like, backstory for these, like, the whole kind of event of, like, Joker and being surrounded with the family, essentially, like the Bat family and Gordon and everything, just kind of show that they're really deeply connected. Then what we learn is this one dude who is a part of the network is basically just like, you kind of learn that they're cloning humans. So basically when a supervillain wants to die, or like a profile person like who gets in prison wants to like not escape prison and pretend to show like they're dead, they manufacture these bodies that like will have heart attacks. And it's just like, this book continues to be really cool because it just delves so deep into like the kind of underground network of like the supervillains too, and it's just basically what they learn is what the greater thing of the network is to do, basically make these designer villains, and the reason that they and the great place to test them is Gotham against the Cape Crusader, which is cool to see just because it is like a manufacturing plant for supervillains, which is really, really cool. And of course, Gordon is about had enough of this shit. Like, he's like far, like, because he even knows himself he is so far out of his fucking depth with this story, like with everything. And of course the Sawyer, yeah, Sawyer, I think is how it's pronounced. So basically the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family comes back. They end up taking Joker, and fucking Gordon is bleeding out. But then there's also a connection back to the B-side story with Barbara and the Talon, and apparently the fucking Talon is James Gordon Jr., who died in the Batgirl run, which is like crazy just because of how all well connected this is. I'm very much enjoying this book. And of course the Punchline story too continues to be really, really great. Harper Row and Kelly have officially gotten out of Blackgate Penitentiary, and now they go to Leslie Thompson, basically talk about like what, basically trying to like not frame, but like come up with evidence to support that, you know, fucking Punchline's nuts and has been killing people. And it's kind of like we learned that a lot of the classmates that Kelly had hung out with Punchline, aka Alexi, and Aiden, who was Punchline's accomplice outside of prison. And they had a book basically full of like a yearbook with all like marks and X's around people. Then it was strange that then all of a sudden, like, Kelly checked, like, when the Joker attack happened, like, several of those people who had they either disappeared or relocated to different schools during their whole school year, which I should have mentioned, were dead. So essentially, it's kind of leading back to Punchline's kind of always been not nuts, but like after her encounter with the Joker, it really drove her off the edge. But it continues to be really, really good. Then we pretty much know now Punchline's running Blackgate, like the female penitentiary side of things. So I think is planning a breakout, at least. But Joker, this book continues to be really, really great. It's a cool detective story with James Tynion IV writing. It's really, really great. The art is killer, like, I think, with each issue, especially, like, the flashback issues, especially, like, with Jim Gordon's first kind of moment and encounter with the Joker is very, very cool, just because it's, like, really drawn in that neo-detective noir style book, which I really, really appreciate. I really, really loved a lot of that within that book. But yeah, I definitely suggest Joker #9. This series continues to be fantastic. If it's not on your poll already, you should put it on your poll. I think Tynion is going until issue 17, which is kind of cool. So, because I think, like, once he gets to 17, he's told his story that he wants to tell, which I think would be really, really great. So now we jump back into my second pick that I really, really enjoyed. And probably one of my favorite books going on right now. I think that's one of Marvel's non-superhero titles is Alien from Philip Kennedy Johnson, Salvador LaCroix, and Guru Efek, if I'm pronouncing that right. The story continues off where it left off with this spaceship crashing down. And of course, we aliens get loose. Of course, one of the... Jane, who is this woman who leads the group and is also suffering from, I think, like a dementia. I can't exactly remember what she's suffering from, but it's very interesting. And it's very interesting because they eventually bury the bodies that were killed in the crash. Then basically Jane tells them about what happened. But basically it gets down to the part where the ship crashes and it had supplies on it for them for like several years. But since that went up to flames, the UA, or the United Americas, I believe is what it's called, they're not coming back. That's what one of them is trying to establish, is like they're not coming back because they don't. Bowie is trying to like say it's like they're not going to come back because they spend that much money, and it's kind of bullshit. And it's like, and then there's of course Jane is kind of, she saw the xenomorphs but nobody else saw them, which is usually their MO. They're very sneaky. Ambrose eventually like tells that there were people, like she saw them, that they're the dogs of premonition, which is very interesting because it's like one of the things I really like that I think Covenant didn't really do, because like, there was a character named Oram, I believe, and he was like very religious, which you could have done something really, really cool with that character, like of him having dialogue with David, who kind of David sees himself as a god, of course creating xenomorphs, which I don't like. I think I've made my biases on the Alien Covenant well established, but it's really, really cool. Like, I really love the idea that they're just this small religious group dealing with this alien outbreak. This xenomorph outbreak is really, really cool. Then, of course, eventually, what it breaks out to is, like, some of the people know that they're sick, and Jane immediately can tell Ambrose told them that she is sick. But Ambrose, like, deflects this, basically saying they're not idiots, and you gotta be in positioned. Then, of course, it cuts later to the night, where there's, of course, there are two people going out, even though Jane said, which she has established, nobody goes out, and if anybody goes out at night, they're in groups with they're armed. Basically, one gunner and this one woman, Tamara, which we eventually learn is cheating on her, I forget what it is. What's her name? But she's basically Gunner's cheating on his wife, which, you know, that's great. But he eventually gets his comeuppance with a xenomorph fucking eviscerating his head, which is very, well done, and it's fucking creepy as shit. But we eventually learn, the groups go and they try to find him, which they do, and his body is mangled to all shit. Becca, that's the woman he was with, they don't know where she's at, so they go hunting. They basically go, in search parties looking for Becca. And then they eventually find a xenomorph hive, which is very coolly done. It's kind of hard to tell, but I really like I love them showing like the xenomorphs kind of forming into more natural formations as opposed to like they're usually like it's on ships or like built like these complexes, Weyland-Yutani complexes, like their nests. But I really like how they're building it within nature. It's very like adds very creepy. It's unnatural, which I really like. They eventually come upon Becca, and then eventually a xenomorph shows up and fucking like eviscerates somebody, and they're then eventually killing Becca, and then ultimately everybody is running to get the hell out. Jane goes back to her and Ambrose's cabin to get a shotgun. Then eventually what we eventually see is that there's some fucking eggs in their bedroom, and it's eventually learned in a big shocker that Ambrose is a fucking a robot, a synthetic, which is really cool because it's like you don't expect him at all. Then this happens, which I really love, and it really plays well into it because you can treat these characters like regular characters, especially like the previous Iris, who was in the previous arc. I really like that, and I like how that can be played here because which is really awesome. Maybe people will say it's like, oh, that's a cheap trick that they did twice. But I really like it because in this, you can't necessarily show or portray. It's really well, you can hide people are either synthetic or not, and especially like Iris, because they're getting a lot more human. Kind of like Blade Runner too, which is really great. But it is super cool. The next issue is called Devil in the Gardens, which I really love, and it's got this really cool shot. Like a lot of these like covers for this arc in particular, I really like, because they very much remind me of Dark Horse style. But yeah, Aliens continues to be really great. Philip Kennedy Johnson continues to do a really great job with developing these characters, making them relatively, they feel like regular people, which is really cool, and like just plain old religious folk who just want to just enjoy the life that they are giving on this like new land, this new planet, essentially the terraforms, which is really cool, and I really love how they portray that. One of the things, Salvador LaCroix, I think he is, like, compared, because I think he did the Darth Vader run with Kieran Gillen, which was the first Darth Vader run, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I gotta say, the art is, I think, a lot better in this than it was in Darth Vader, in my opinion. So it is improving. It gets a little hard to get used to, just because it is relatively, like, not photorealistic, but it is very, like, those look like people from the movie, especially like you get Bishop and everything. But Alien continues to be a great book from Philip Kennedy Johnson. I don't know if these stories are going to be eventually branch off into, like, they'll intertwine with each other, or they're just going to be standalone stories. I'm very interested to see that, but I like the idea that they're taking of, like, each arc will be a story within the Alien universe, which I really enjoyed. So, with the next book in the series, this one I wanted to really get onto just mainly because of, one, the character popularity is really high right now, especially since after the movie came out. He's had 2 movies so far. This could be, like, any other character you could possibly think of. But, like, they are getting this new run, and of course it is Venom number 1, aka Legacy number Venom 201, from the wonderful creative team of Al Ewing, Ram V, Brian Hitch as a penciler, Andrew Curie, and Alex Sinclair on art. And for somebody who didn't read King in Black, but also, like, kind of I know what happened in King of Black, it opens a very, like, great... sorry about that, guys. The camera... dogs started barking. So, but anyway, let's jump into it. As I said, this creative team is really stacked, and this is also following after King in Black, too. Basically, Eddie is the King of Black. He's the King of the Symbiotes, essentially, and it's actually kind of cool, because what is established, and I think was also established within King of Black, basically... Venom is able to, or Eddie is able to jump consciousness through any Venom, any symbiote, which is really cool. And he's giving, like, trying to get the sense, like, they were ruled by Null, who was this evil bastard. What Eddie's doing is he's making them good, like, and trying to make them a force of good, which is really cool, which I really like. it's awesome. It's like really, really awesome to see. The artwork is really, really cool, and I really love kind of like Al Ewing's story. It's actually cool because we do get two side stories. So we get the cosmic side of story, like with Eddie, and also we get the more ground level stuff with Dylan Brock, which is really, really cool. Eddie's son, who is hanging out with this symbiote cat named Sleeper, which looks really, really cool. And basically, it kind of cuts back and forth. As you can kind of tell, Eddie's being an absentee father, kind of, even though he's got a huge responsibility for being King in Black, which is really, really cool. Then there's a point where, like, he's becoming, like, he's saving the ship from these Skrull pirates. And eventually what he learns is they're like, he sends one of his symbiotes that he's with, named Ringo, to, like, Ringo basically is sent to save the slaves. Not slaves, save the crew that's been captured. But then what eventually Eddie sees is Ringo had killed pretty much the whole crew and something has happened with him. He's got these red glowing eyes. He's not sure, Eddie's not sure what this is. It's not sure if it's Null or Carnage, which is very, very interesting. It's very intriguing, too, because the Venom, the symbiote, just disintegrates. And it's really, really cool. Like, what I think is really, really awesome for this is it establishes, like, for people who haven't read King in Black, they really establish of, like, what had happened in that story and what's going on now. Eddie is now the king of the symbiotes. Venom's off doing something, so I guess Venom is a little jealous that Eddie is now bonding with all these different symbiotes, which, like, that kind of makes sense, because Venom can be a little bit of a jaded bitch sometime. But it is, like, I will say it adds a lot to the story, and it ends with a bombshell that, as we assumably see Eddie die. Then, of course, Venom is back, and he bonds with freaking Dylan Brock. So now Dylan Brock and Venom are working together, so it is very interesting. But of course, Eddie, it's not as simple as that. Eddie's not dead, and he has meeted up with this dude named Mercari. It's kind of weird. He kind of looks like Hela to a degree from Thor Ragnarok. So it's super, super interesting. Like, as I said, this book is more dealing with the, I think we're going to get those two-side narratives for Venom. We're going to get the more cosmic kind of interesting side, which I think Al Ewing will deal with, and the more grounded stuff, which I think Ram V is going to kind of deal with. So it is a really, really cool creative team, I think. I really love Ram V. Al Ewing is also really, really great too. Like, he's done his Guardians run. He's writing Sword right now, which I really, really enjoy. Ram V, as y'all know, he is doing the Swamp Thing run for the 10-issue mini, which I think has got one issue left, which I'm very sad, but hopefully that spins off to something greater. But yeah, for somebody who has never read a Venom comic in his life, this is a really cool jumping on point, just because you don't need to read King in Black. Like, if you do want to go through the Kate's run, definitely do that, but there's also, you don't necessarily need to, because it just recaps everything that happened in King in Black, of how, like, now Eddie's King of the Symbiotes. I really, really enjoy it. The art's really, really cool on it. Very kind of like that kind of modern kind of style that I really like with a comic book. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. I really, really enjoy it. So yeah, that is it for today's Mythical Mountain Tuesday, I guess, or Monday, as y'all know. I really enjoyed it. So a lot of these comics are really, really great. There's a lot of cool comics that are coming out next week. So next, I can't think of the ones that I didn't think of it on top of my head, but the next few times I do Mythical Mountain Monday, I'll talk about comics that are going to come out the coming week. That coming week, which ones I'm excited for and which ones I'm excited to read, see if those made it onto the, of course, they made it onto the show. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, hit the little bell notification so you get notified What's in the Box Wednesday, Figure Review Friday, and What's in the Box Wednesday, of course. All those shows, of course, I said out of order, but you know what it is. Like, if you've been with the YouTube, if you've been watching us for a long time, you know our schedule. Also check us out on Mercari too, because holidays are coming up and people will be looking for stuff, so we got a lot of stuff on there, both of us really. And also check us out on Instagram as well. We post a lot of cool stuff and like photos. And once again, I've been a little slow and lacking on like the photography lately, but I kind of want to get back into that. It's just been really busy just because Thanksgiving's coming around the corner, and work's been busy, so you know, it's usually holiday stuff, as you guys know. So with that being said, you guys have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you next week, hopefully. Let's just see how the schedule works out. But yeah, see you guys later. And this week there will be a figure review Friday. I will do one this weekend, this week. So yeah, you'll have that to look forward to as well. So you guys have a great day. Peace, y'all.